All right, let's talk about a book that is an absolute cultural phenomenon. Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. I mean, it's sold over 50 million copies. It's been praised, it's been criticized, but you can't deny its influence. So what's the big idea that made it so huge? Let's dive in and break down its famous planetary metaphor.
This quote right here, this is the entire foundation of the book. The big idea is that men and women are so fundamentally different, it's like we're from two separate planets. But when we got to Earth, we got this kind of planetary amnesia. We forgot we were different and started expecting our partners to think, feel, and act just like us. According to the author, that one single misunderstanding is the root of so much conflict in relationships. So, to really get this metaphor, the book asks us to go back in time. We need to imagine what life was actually like on Mars and on Venus. This lays out the foundational differences that are key to, well, the entire philosophy.
Here's how the book breaks down their core identities. For Martians, it's all about results. Their self-worth comes from hitting goals, solving problems, and proving they're competent. For Venusians, though, identity is all about feelings and the quality of their relationships. They're driven by love, by communication, by connection. The book argues these aren't just little preferences. They're like two completely different operating systems.
Okay, so you've got these completely different operating systems. What happens when they try to communicate? Well, the book says it's like they're speaking totally different languages, even if they're using the exact same words. Let's look at how this plays out.
I think we can all relate to this feeling, right? You're stuck in a loop. The book says this happens because we're constantly misreading the real meaning behind what our partner is saying. We're just not hearing what they're really trying to tell us.
Okay, take this classic line. On the surface, it sounds pretty straightforward, right? A complaint. But the book flags this as a perfect example of Venusian speech, where expressing the feeling is way more important than being literally accurate.
And here comes the typical Martian reply. He hears a problem with the data, a factual error that needs to be corrected. He pulls out the mental calendar and points out the facts. But in doing that, he completely, totally misses the emotional point she was trying to make, which, yeah, that just leads to frustration for everyone.
And this is where the light bulb goes off. The book basically gives us a translation guide. We Never Go Out isn't about the calendar. It's an emotional SOS. She's not trying to argue about facts. She's trying to reconnect. And understanding that hidden message, that's supposedly the key to breaking the cycle.
This leads us to another huge communication clash. When a woman is upset and talking about her problems, a man's Martian instinct is to become Mr. Fix-It. To him, offering a solution is how he shows love. It proves he's competent and he can help. But she often just wants to be heard. On the flip side, a woman's Venusian instinct might be to offer helpful, unsolicited advice, to be the home improvement committee. For her, this is a deep act of caring. But for him, it can feel like she's questioning his ability to handle things, which is a direct hit to his core Martian need for competence.
These differences don't stop with communication. They show up big time in how we handle stress. When life gets tough, the book says Martians and Venusians basically run to opposite corners of the ring to cope.
And here's one of the book's most famous ideas, the man cave. When a Martian gets stressed, he withdraws. He goes into this mental cave to just silently, intensely focus on the problem until he's got a solution. To anyone on the outside, he might seem distant or checked out, but in his mind, he's just trying to slay a dragon.
So, what do you do if your partner has retreated into his cave? The book's advice is really direct. Don't follow him in there. Don't try to drag him out. Don't offer solutions. Don't ask him how he's feeling. That's just going to make it worse. The best way to show support is to trust him to figure it out. Give him space, go do something that makes you happy, and that actually helps him solve his problem faster because he feels trusted and loved.
Now, let's look at the Venusian way of coping. The author uses this great metaphor of a wave. A woman's emotional state naturally rises and falls. When she's at the bottom of that wave, feeling overwhelmed or down, her instinct isn't to pull away, it's to talk. For her, sharing her feelings is how she processes them and, comes back up for air.
And this part is absolutely crucial. When she's talking, she's not looking for Mr. Fix-It. She doesn't need a solution. What she needs is a listener, someone who gives empathy, understanding, and reassurance that what she's feeling is valid. The act of being heard is the solution. That's what helps her emotional waves start to rise again.
So these different styles of coping, they feed into a much bigger pattern in relationships, what the book calls the intimacy cycle.
And it can be super confusing if you don't understand the mechanics behind it.
I mean, seriously, this is a question that causes so much anxiety. Everything's going great, you're feeling closer than ever, and then all of a sudden, he just seems distant. What is up with that? Well, the book has a really specific metaphor to explain this.
Meet the rubber band theory. The idea is that a man has this natural cycle of intimacy. After getting really close, he hits a point where he instinctively needs to pull away, just to feel his own sense of self and independence again. It's not a conscious choice or a rejection. It's just this internal need for autonomy that kicks in.
But here's the brilliant part of the cycle. If he's given the space to stretch that rubber band all the way without being chased or made to feel guilty, he doesn't just wander back, he springs back. Powerfully, he comes back with his desire for intimacy totally recharged. Understanding this natural rhythm, the book says, can prevent a whole lot of unnecessary drama.
So, we've looked at communication, stress, intimacy cycles, but what's underneath it all? What are the primary, core emotional needs that Martians and Venusians are looking for from each other?
Think of this chart as a kind of Rosetta Stone for emotional needs. The book lists 12 types of love, but it breaks them down into what men and women primarily need to receive. And here's the big mistake we make. We tend to give the kind of love we want to get. So a woman might offer tons of caring and helpful suggestions when what her partner really needs to feel loved is trust and acceptance. And a man might offer solutions to fix everything when what she truly needs is just understanding and reassurance.
This little story from the author himself is a perfect example of this in action. He messed up. The home improvement response would be to lecture him, right? But instead, his wife laughed and, most importantly, she showed him trust. She didn't try to fix it, she trusted his competence to handle it, which is a primary Martian need. And it just completely changed the whole dynamic of a stressful moment.
And really, that's the core message of the entire book. Just remembering and respecting these deep, fundamental differences is the real key. So we'll leave you with this final thought. If you fully, truly embrace this idea that you and your partner are from two different worlds, what's one small thing you would do differently tonight? That's all for this explainer.